Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sick little monkeys everywhere, welcome to Video Ferox, the reboot, reimagining, everything. Basically, we're recovering from where YouTube fucked us. So, what are we doing here? Tonight, we're going to be kicking off Thesis Month. What's Thesis Month, you say? Well, let's assume somebody came up to me in the street and asked me, Tony, what's Video Ferox all about? I would then hand them these 4 movies and say, here, watch these, motherfucker. They are movies that embody the spirit and soul of Video Ferox and what we're trying to achieve here. Underrated, overlooked, crazy shit, and my God, I never considered that sort of movies. So, tonight we're going to kick off Thesis Month with New York Ninja. This lovely edition comes to us from Shout Factory, Schlock Factory, fuck it, whatever, watch the trailer. I fucked it up already.
Abductions of young women are still being reported. Another woman with mysterious radiation burns has been discovered.
We're gonna have a baby.
Oh my God.
I can't believe that John's wife was murdered.
You have to try and pull yourself together.
This city owes me
Well, what's that?
justice. Why won't anyone do anything?
We are strong on crime, and together we have the power.
This is a big city. We're doing what we can.
What happened? Is he okay? What? What? Shit.
Tell the others, I'm coming for them.
I need you to help me.
I would, but I want them dead.
Crime has remained at an all-time low thanks to ninja fever.
We're going live with this.
These men murdered her because of what she saw. It's linked to these abductions.
There's something weighing us down. It's that damn ninja.
New York Ninja's a real hero.
Alrighty, and welcome back from the trailer to New York Ninja. So, we're moving the Did We Like It segment to the front so that we can give you a full spoiler-free existence. A spoiler-free existence for the next 5 minutes, and then we're going to get heavy into the spoilers. So, Ashley, do you like the New York Ninja?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something. Oh, cars and martial arts and lots of don't fuck with me, asshole.
This movie is essentially, if you've seen the Miami Connection that Grindhouse Video did, about 5-6 years ago that they found. If you like that sort of movie, you're gonna fucking love this thing.
Oh yeah, I mean the guys that did this movie, the guys that found this print, it had no music, it had no opening and closing titles or credits. So they knew almost nothing about who made this and who played who. They only had maybe like a slim cast sheet and some info on the writer-director.
Yeah, they had the shot log, and that's about all they had to work with. So the fact that they managed to make this movie from a Frankenstein and make it actually entertaining, it's not a good movie. This is a terrible, terrible movie. But it is entertaining as fuck.
Yes, it brings the happy.
It's fun. It's just a lot of fucking fun.
This has got everything you like about New York. New York City everywhere. New York people. Guys saying, don't fuck with me, asshole. Lots of swords, lots of shuriken, lots of beauty as long-legged babes doing all kinds of martial arts and all kinds of other freaky shit. So if you like all that, you're probably going to really like this movie.
So, you liked it, I like it. This thing's fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's deploy the spoilers. Yes. Now, the reason that I picked this movie for Thesis Month is because this movie is essentially a little movie that could. The parallel to the Miami Connection is actually really apt. Basically what happened was that Vinegar Syndrome found the reels to this movie in like a lot of stuff that they bought. They like have all these film cans and they're all going through it and they come across, these unlabeled, what the hell is this New York Ninja stuff. And they look at it and it's like, this is like really good. Oh my God. But they don't have any of the shot logs. They don't have any of the audio. They don't have any material on what the hell, no script, no nothing. So they took this movie and they assembled it from the shot log. And what happened was they're looking at it saying, okay, this really makes no fucking sense, the way that it was shot. So they took the footage and they kind of assembled it into what they thought made most logical sense. And then they got in a whole bunch of actors that Vinegar Syndrome is working with. So we have names like Cynthia Rothrock, who, I mean, it needs no introduction on this channel.
Yeah.
We got Don the Dragon Wilson, who also needs no fucking introduction.
Michael Berryman.
for
Leon
fuck's
Isaac
sake.
Kennedy. I mean, this is a kind of a who's who of either martial arts or exploitation or 70s and 80s cinema.
Now, if we're being completely fair, none of these people are voice actors. So the voice acting, pretty fucking terrible.
But it does fit the characters. I mean, and the budget, that was apparent in this movie. So it kind of, they were going for low rent, and it actually works.
The only tell that you can say, okay, I can see this was a modern movie, was the credits, the opening credits and the closing credits look computer generated. They look way too neat and clean.
Plus, John Liu, he's Taiwanese, so he went back to Taiwan. He was a Taiwanese martial artist actor, and he's one of the best kickers. Basically like sidekick, like Bruce Lee. He was into kicks, so he had a career in doing movies where he would do a lot of kicks. He could hold his leg up above his head and do all the shit Bruce Lee did, and he's on full display in this movie.
So we should probably tell them about New York Ninja.
Oh yeah.
So the movie starts out with this, okay, it's an information dump. It's, here, let us recreate the beginning of the movie, shall we?
All right.
All right. I love you, my dear. Let's get married.
It's my birthday. By the way, I'm preggers.
Fine, I'm going to go over here.
And this was done while the two towers were still there. So they were doing basically what everybody that goes to New York to make movies does. They were making use of every single skyscraper they could that sticks out like a sore thumb. So they basically meet about a block or two west of the two towers, the World Trade Center, to do their thing. And it's one of these typical deals where they come into frame from opposite directions, and there's nobody in the background until they do a little bit of dialogue, and suddenly there are people standing there watching, like people will do when there's some impromptu film being made.
And the way the movie was shot was that they were looking dead straight at the camera. So there's no little, whenever you do a competent movie, you set your actors off a little bit. If we notice Ashley here, I've got a lot of dead space over on that side, because that's more natural looking. So looking straight on in the camera like they do is just weird looking.
It's more like a conversation with the viewer or with the audience rather than them talking to each other, unless they're doing a POV shot specifically when there's something going on and they make it really arch and obvious that they're looking directly at each other like that.
So something like Silence of the Lambs, where Clarice is looking at Hannibal Lecter and they're looking dead onto the camera. It's supposed to engender a sense of unease. That, on the other hand, is not what's happening here. It's just we're pointing at the camera at the actors and they're going to say some lines. Done.
Yeah. So she goes back to wherever she'd come from originally. There's no way of knowing. And she crosses paths with these kidnappers. These guys are into a white slavery slave woman ring, and she gets killed by a guy called Freddie Cufflinks, who has this knife, basically pulls a knife, and in a really arch manner, he basically cuts her neck, and then she falls down the stairs to the Van Cortlandt subway entrance.
And then he throws the knife at her.
Into the gut, and dead.
And it's totally a rubber knife. I mean, you could totally see her clutching her gut and kind of going, ugh, and the blade is going, boing, 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 boing.
Randy and Jack meet their boss from the TV station. He comes flying over to like the New Jersey side of the harbor or whatever. And they're talking about this, and he's like, I gotta go, and Randy says, I gotta go comfort him. And he's on the rooftop apartment a couple of blocks from the Empire State Building, and has this table set up for a birthday and this picture and everything, and it's so nice and sweet. And she comes and tries to comfort him, and it's just not working. And he's like, why did this happen? It's unfair. It's unfair. And Don the Dragon Wilson is having a field day voicing this guy.
Oh, God, yes. They're absolutely just cheesing the fuck out of this because, okay, no, actually, let us be fair about the movie. Vinegar Syndrome plays this movie 100% straight. But I mean, they act for the cheap seats, sure, but they don't kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Tiger Lily, what's up, Tiger Lily? This movie.
Oh no. This is a straightforward revenge. Could have been a romance movie, but they deep six that right away. And he basically just wrecks the table, and it's this very poignant scene because he was saving this picture for her, the two of them, that they'd shot together. He was going to give it to her for a present, and she gave him a postcard saying she loved him, and on the postcard are some samurai with samurai swords, and you see where this is going.
So what happens is that, like, we get scenes like they're in the news van, and the cameraman, the reporter, and John Liu, the sound guy, is, they're watching, hey, there's some crime going on over there, and all of a sudden John Liu's like, I gotta go get a sandwich, I gotta go to the bathroom, and he just exits stage ref, and all of a sudden the New York Ninja shows up, and he totally does the Superman thing, and he's like, kick some ass. They're like, oh my God, the New York Ninja. And then John Liu shows back up and is like, what did I miss? It's like, dude, the New York Ninja was just here. They totally fucking Supermaned this.
Oh, yeah. But Liu is basically facing the harbor, and these guys are doing some shit behind him. He's not paying any attention to him. You don't even know he's there until they show him. And him and the other guys are completely divorced from each other scene-wise. And this one guy is threatening these 6 other guys because he's working for the crime boss we haven't seen yet. Actually, no, we have seen him.
So there's this weird, I don't really know what the fuck is going on with the bad guys, because you've got this very well-tailored man who drives up in this limousine, and he's like this super effeminate.
I understand, but my clientele is very hungry now.
The other guy in the other van across the way from the guy, Michael Berryman, is the radioactive man. He's this assassin who goes and picks up women and delivers them to the effeminate man. But he's like, what the fuck is going on with the radioactive man?
So basically, this guy is an ex-CIA operative who got involved in an experiment with radiation, plutonium. And so he's developed an addiction to it. He needs it to charge himself up, to feel sexually active, to feel manly, but it's tearing his body apart. His body is deteriorating. Every time he opens this box, it's a casing, a radioactive
like a little
casing.
fishing tackle box or something.
Well, yeah, it's a radioactive proof casing filled with plutonium. You never see it in there, but you get the Repo Man glow.
Yeah, he opens it and all of a sudden this green glow.
And he gets this, and he starts just freaking out. And his hand, it looks like he's had stigmata on one hand.
And then he has to go and find the whore and just bones the hell out of him. So he's melting. He's got the stigmata and he's supercharged from his radioactive sex drive, and he's just boning this woman, and he's grabbing her, smoke's coming off their hands and shit.
And Liu and this Chinese kid, who's a street kid in New York, he's a member of this gang who rip people off, run by this black guy who reminds me of Show Nuff from Last Dragon. And he gets roughed up a couple of times, and Liu tries to save him the second time. He didn't do anything the first time this kid was getting roughed up on the street, because they crossed paths multiple times. He was still in his grieving mode. And so by the second time, he's dressed as a ninja, and he comes down in this park and tries to save the kid and ends up getting shot in the back by Show Nuff. Then the kid jumps in the way of the second bullet and he gets shot in the back.
And so he has to take him back to his ninja lair. And there's this touching allegedly scene where he's got his shirt off and he's kind of being homoerotic, trying to dig the bullet out, and it's weird.
Well,
it's creepy.
he's digging the bullet out of him, and then they never show him take the bullet out of the kid. And then he's got this black shuriken hanging around his neck. He gives it to the kid, and they form this bond, and they go out, they hang out, they go fish. Several weeks passed. Several weeks later.
And the thing is, okay, so doesn't this kid have parents or
no,
family?
He's a street kid.
So this is not how this works, where I found an orphan and now I'm keeping this orphan. That's not how this works.
Well, but in this fantasy scenario, John doesn't have a family, so he's adopted this kid, and they go out fishing. John takes these sticks and spear fishes while the kid, known as the kid, does it with a regular tackle. And later on, and this is several weeks after John has gone, down the hidey hole, he's not doing anything. The ninja has disappeared, but New York City is gripped in ninja madness. Crime has gone down, but women are still being kidnapped, and some of them are showing up dead with radiation burns all over them. So they're calling this guy the plutonium killer. The woman that gets killed, the guy picked her up at the plutonium killer picked her up at the park. She was just there to enjoy herself, and he hypnotizes her with a coin. And they end up in the back seat of his car, and Rat Tail's up front minding his own business. And so he hypnotizes her, and then he fucks her, and basically she's burning from the inside out because he's got plutonium dick. And then he dumps her out.
Fuck you.
And then the following morning, these two thugs approach the car and they try to rip him off. And he gets the drop on one of them, and Rat Tail gets out and beats the other one up. And so these guys eventually take off. Then they dump her later. And Detective Janet Flores, she's the female cop with the other two, cops there. She's basically, going, this is just too fucked up. She's like devastated, and the police sergeant says, all right, you guys, bag her, tag her, and takes off. I swear, this woman has the longest neck I have ever seen in my life. I mean, puts Linda Hamilton's to shame. I'm serious.
We're just trying our very best to describe this in a coherent, logical manner. This movie has none of that. So basically what we're describing is pretty much as the events play out.
Yeah, and the effeminate man, I believe he's called the Pale Man, is actually Interpol. So this guy's tracking an international female slavery, white slavery ring, and Plutonium Man is the head of this ring.
The weird thing is they don't do any weird sex trafficking, because they take the girls to this dungeon and they strap them to these metal frame things, and they just kind of leave them there. No Johns ever show up. No, they never actually take the girls to the clients. They just kind of keep them in a prison. At
one point, Randy Rydell, she gets chased by some thugs. And Randy keeps getting kidnapped and chased throughout the movie, because she's a major anchor woman. She's always on TV. Everybody knows who she is, so it's not hard to find her.
Every Superman needs a Lois Lane.
Right. And Jack, the cameraman, ends up getting chased by some thugs. And he basically leaves Randy to get purged, or to get nabbed. He runs off, ends up at the top of this apartment building, and surrounded, and they're going to do him in when the New York Ninja shows up and starts doing what New York Ninjas do. And there's some really good widescreen shots of the fights and stuff on the top of this building. Some of these guys are dressed up in, really effusively, punky costumes and shit.
The extras in this, all the other gangs that aren't, Cufflinks and the Rat Tail and the Melting Man.
Switchblade.
And all those folks, all of the extras, they look like they wandered off the set of a dollar store version of the Warriors.
And one really great scene that I absolutely love. So there's this couple downtown on Broadway, and these two guys come up, they're standing on a street corner, and they go and rip the purse off of these two women are standing, they rip off the purse. Well, Nin comes rushing in on roller skates.
He fights on kung fu on roller skates, all the way up to the point where he has to make this jump over this hood of a car, and then the roller skates magically disappear.
And turn into ninja boots.
And the thing is, the kung fu fighting in this movie is pretty much one-on-one, and all the extras that are surrounding him are doing that kind of jumping in place, I'm waiting for my turn to attack. And the thing is, when you have a kung fu movie, if you go and watch like a Shaw Brothers movie, there's a lot of that going on there too. But they have the skill to be able to cut away and do close-ups and do like shots of the fists and stuff. The kung fu in this movie is mostly a long, wide, open shot where it's 5 guys dancing in the background and 2 guys fighting in the foreground.
And the guy that's doing the fighting in the alley isn't John Liu. It's a white guy. He's completely different facial type and everything, and the eyes aren't, almond-shaped. But then they cut back to John Liu for some of the later shots. So he either wasn't shooting that day or maybe he was directing, and he wasn't going to get in there because he wasn't going to do the roller skates thing. And plus this guy had to roller skate down an alley, followed by a bunch of thugs and one on a motorcycle, and then it was like a Dodge station wagon or something like that. And so they make very good use of New York City. They shoot all over the fucking place. I mean, this isn't the case of, oh, it's New York, and then you turn back and it's fucking Cinecittà in Rome. No, this is fucking New York City all over.
And I guarantee you, they didn't have one single permit amongst the lot of them. This was 100% guerrilla shooting,
man. Oh, no, man. They got well-known street signs and buildings all over the place. I mean, the first precinct where this lieutenant who is basically the guy who's in charge of the investigation into Nita's death. He works out of the 1st Precinct in Queens. And at one point, Lou walks up to him and demands to know what's going on. What are they doing about this? Why is it taking so long? And the lieutenant's under a lot of pressure because it's fucking New York. There's like 22 million people within the city going in and out at any time, day and night. The city never sleeps. There's people up above the city. There's people in the subways. You can't get everybody. They only got like about 45 or 60,000 cops in a city of about 22 million people. What are you going to do? And so he says, we're doing what the best we can. And he means it. He's not fobbing him off. He means it. They have to scour this entire city for a bunch of thugs that killed his wife and disappeared.
There were a couple of effective scenes, like that scene when they're on the subway and they somehow managed to get a deserted subway. That was really, I thought, shot well.
That might be the unused subway track. Basically, down in the subway of New York, there's an unused track they normally reserve for filming. They couldn't use it anymore because it was too deteriorated, but they might be able to bolster it up for temporary stuff like shooting films. And so this might have been one of those, or they might have been on a side track. Because if you've ever been down to New York City subway, it's all over the frickin' place. And multiple levels and shit like that, kind of like in LA. So they were able to get in there, and they might not have been using a permit for the shot with, they might have paid Sharon Mitchell and this other guy a bit of money to be in this thing for like a minute and said, okay, we're going to do this a few times, and then you guys get off, and then we'll get back on the train, go that way, and then get back on and get off at this stop, and you guys run away, and then there's your pay. They might have gone down like that, because she didn't have any dialogue, and she's a major porn star at that time. And so, they were probably just not a lot, $10 and a pastrami sandwich and some root beer.
A New York bagel? I don't know.
It's a bagel. It's New York. What do you want? A pickle? Here, have a half done. Have an egg cream while you're at it. Why don't you just shut up and go down and sit down there? Don't bother me. What is this?
Boy, that's not racist.
I'm part Ashkenazi. I can do Jewish. I'm 6% Ashkenazi.
So what happens eventually is that Rat Tail, the radioactive man's driver, he winds up getting in a fight with the New York Ninja. And he does this absolute drunken master bullshit. And oh my God, it is fucking terrible.
It's awful. This guy is definitely not a fighter.
And the funny thing was, you can see that they obviously shot this at the end of the day, because as the fight goes on, you can see them losing light. Mm-hmm. You can see them, okay, we can't do a retake because we're losing the fucking light. Just hit the dude.
They wasted time having Lou do backflips through weeds and brush and brambles in this area that looks like it's somewhere in the back 60 of Brooklyn, facing the harbor. Why waste your time on that shit? He wasn't even running from anything. You only need to do that when you're trying to dodge something.
Because ninjas don't walk, motherfucker. They only backflip. This is a scientific fact. Do you not know this?
Oh yeah, I forgot. They don't walk on water. They don't walk on air. They do their hands with this stuff. Why don't you just, I don't know, fly? Can ninjas fly?
No, because what happens is they get to the very end of the movie and the radioactive man kidnaps Lois Lane again and drags her to a helicopter, and a couple of different helicopters. And that we can't escape that way. Okay, we're fine. We'll get this one. He gets in and they start flying away. New York Ninja does a bunch of kung fu on all his minions and then throws a ninja rope to the skid and then flies up. The funny thing is, they didn't have an ending. Vinegar Syndrome does not have an idea how this movie ends. So they're like, what the fuck do we do? They did a voiceover where it's a shot of the helicopter and it's Michael Berryman doing a voiceover saying, wait a minute, is that a ninja? Hey, wait a minute, he threw a bomb in here. And then they superimposed an explosion over the helicopter because what the fuck you going to do? And so it blows up. New York Ninja drops. He doesn't fly, he drops. And this cops surround him. They're like, oh, we're going to arrest you, New York Ninja. And a bunch of kids come out and say, we love New York Ninja. And roll the credits.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, no. Oh. We end on the greatest freeze frame ever. So he goes back and he talks to the reporter, the Lois Lane, on the rooftop. And he's all like, oh, did you hear? They caught the bad guys. New York Ninja saved the day. And he goes in for a hug and he's like, I want to take a couple of seconds and gush about the music for the thing. Because what they did, now Vinegar Syndrome liked the dialogue. They had no clue what the music was going to be for the thing. So they found a progressive prog rock band that is basically if you took Goblin and had Goblin do Escape from New York. That's essentially the soundtrack they have going on here. And it is so 100% on brand for the movie. It sounds really authentic and actually really cool.
Yeah, this has some lashings of Basket Case, Escape from New York, possibly even a little bit of like Big Trouble in Little China. Kind of just that they go all over the place with the synth and the synth drum, the boom 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 doom stuff, and it really works for a lot of the scenes. Sometimes it's a little dodgy, but, you know, I mean, given that you really can't tell the difference between this and a lot of the music that came out back then, it pretty much works for its material. One thing I did notice, and this happens a couple of times, well, several times in the movie, whenever characters are running, they do the Hong Kong pullout. You photograph the feet and then you zoom out to the wide shot. They do this all the frickin' time in those low-rent Hong Kong movies.
Well, that's where the New York Ninja got his directorial start, was he was in Asia before he came over to America and tried to make New York Ninja.
Yeah, he was Taiwanese. He did a lot of martial arts movies and a lot of kicking and stuff. So, as mentioned before, he was really good at just doing kicks. He loved doing kicks.
All right, next time I promise we'll do a little more analytical analysis of the movie as opposed to just gushing over the thing. So you want to gush on for a last couple of seconds for a final thought?
Yes. So I highly recommend this movie to people who like those exploitation movies of this type. I mean, this is like The Warriors meets Escape from New York in some measure.
There you go. And we'll catch you next week, I guess.
Okay, then.
You're invited to stop in at Nashua's own McDonald's on Route 101A. You'll find McDonald's high quality, fast service, and reasonable prices. Also, visit McDonald's at the Drum Hill shopping area in Chelmsford. Treat yourself and the family at McDonald's soon.
We love New York Ninja, but the episode's over, so back on the shelf you go. Next week, we're going to be giving you a look at an underrated, overlooked classic, and I mean that with all 100% sincerity. We're going to be watching Josie and the Pussycats. No, really. Tune back in next week and find out exactly why you need to watch this motherfucking movie. In the meantime, please, I want you to drop me an email, thevideonastyproject@gmail.com, because I'm too fucking lazy to change the email address. And until we gather again, friends, please stay evil.
Why? Why? Why?